Hello and welcome back to London Cycle Routes. Today I'll be showing you how to cycle from the Greenwich Foot Tunnel to Canary Wharf. This ride takes under 15 minutes and following the route in this video you can do it all on quiet streets and protected cycle lanes, avoiding the busy West Ferry Road. By public transport, the same journey takes between 15 and 20 minutes, so cycling is a great option for making this trip. If you find this video useful or you just enjoy watching it, then please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as I try to post new videos just like it every week. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to everyone who supports the channel on Patreon. If you'd like to contribute too, then you can find a link in the description below the video. Alright, let's get going. So we're starting at the northern portal of the Greenwich Foot Tunnel in Island Gardens. Do remember that you're not allowed to cycle through the tunnel, though you will sometimes see people doing it, and it's best to wheel your bike in there if you need to take a bike through it. For those that don't know, the south end of the tunnel is by the Cutty Sark in Greenwich Town Centre, which is really well connected to South London's cycle network. The tunnel has a number of other drawbacks, like the lifts being regularly broken, but given the lack of alternatives for crossing the Thames, I do get a lot of requests about it. Cycling down the main road from the tunnel up to Canary Wharf is not fun. West Ferry Road is a pretty busy road with fast traffic on it, so this route is designed for people who want a less perilous journey up through the Isle of Dogs. The first stretch that we're on here is on shared paths in Millwall Park, following this old railway viaduct. Strangely, the viaduct is not actually used by the DLR, which follows this route but is actually underground at this point. One big downside of the park is these horrible chicanes at the entrance and exit, which you can get past on a standard bike okay, but could be very difficult for people on adapted cycles and cargo bikes, not to mention anyone in a wheelchair or with a pushchair. It's pretty incredible to me, in fact, that anyone thought that that was an appropriate treatment for the entrance to a park. After a very short ride up Spindrift Avenue, which is a minor road, we then turn into Undine Road, which is a cul-de-sac and therefore has no traffic on it. An undine, by the way, is an elemental being associated with water, theorised by the Swiss Renaissance alchemist Paracelsus, but here it's more likely to be a reference to any of the 8 British warships that have been named HMS Undine. Watch out for the horrible plastic speed bumps on this street, and also for this chimney on the right here, which is one of 2 surviving smokestacks on the Isle of Dogs, which used to be completely covered in them, although this one only dates from 1952, when it was built for refuse incineration rather than as part of a factory or anything like that. Next up we have a short and quite pleasant section riding along the dockside of Millwall Outer Dock. If you want to know more about the history of the dock, there is actually a little signboard there that we just cycled past that you can read if you make it down here, or you could just go on Wikipedia. It's up to you. If you're riding this at night, there are street lights, but watch out for the sections, particularly around the Crescent, where there are steps. You don't want to accidentally cycle down some steps, could be quite painful. There's also street lighting in the park section at the beginning, I did check that. Next up we turn left onto Pepper Street and go over Glengall Bridge. You can actually see a little blue cycle route sign on the lamppost on our left there. This is a really interesting spot. I think they've done a pretty good job of making a nice pedestrian high street, incorporating some of the historic details like the bridge and the cranes, and it's hard to think of another one in this postmodern 1980s style which is so nicely done. However, in common with a lot of privately managed developments of this era, they've made it unnecessarily hostile with little plastic speed bumps, awful chicanes, irritating pinch points and just silly signs everywhere, which are bad not just for people riding bikes, but with pushchairs, wheelchairs, etc. create pinch points and generally just make it less pleasant to ride through and even walk through than it needs to be. I do actually like the street itself though, and if they tidied it up it could be a really cool place to come and visit. Don't miss this right turn at the fire gate into Quadrant Walk. If you're doing this route in the opposite direction, Mellish Road appears at first sight to be one way, but it's actually two way for bikes, and you can see the accept cycle sign on a sign around the corner. So yeah, this route is actually symmetrical no matter which way you're doing it in. I am aware, by the way, that today's route is pretty twisty and turny and might be difficult to follow on a first ride, so if you need a little bit of extra help doing it, you can always download the map of the route, which I'll link in the description below the video. I'm still hosting them on Komoot. It seems to be working alright for now, and you should be able to download a GPX file and use them on whatever app or device you prefer. It is a standard format. Now, if you want to get to the Thames path and onwards to Cycleway 3, you can turn left here down Byng Street and go along the river down the western edge of Canary Wharf, but we're going to go right into the middle of it today. The easiest way I found is to really briefly go on Marsh Way here, which is quite a busy road, then turn into Admiral's Way. Now, unfortunately, the very last section of this getting over the dock, I think is best done dismounted and just pushing your bike. You can see here that they've kind of blocked off the entrance, which you did, I think, used to be able to cycle straight up to the dock with. So I've got off my bike and I'm just pushing it down the pedestrian path. It is also quite busy on the dockside, so you probably don't want to be riding a bike here. Then what we do is we use the South Quay footbridge here. Now, there aren't any signs saying you can't cycle on the South Quay footbridge, and I'm sure that if it's not busy, you probably could just get away with it. But at the other end, there are actually steps, and you'd have to dismount and use the elevator anyway if you weren't comfortable carrying your bike down the steps. So I've been perfectly happy just to walk it. You can see dead ahead of us here is One Canada Square. Behind that glass building, it's the tall tower. That is the building synonymous with Canary Wharf, and behind this glass building is actually Canary Wharf tube station. So in order to get there, you actually just go through this building, but the main doors are actually revolving doors which are impossible to wheel a bike through. But there's a button you can press next to them which opens a door to the side and you can wheel your bike through there. Why didn't I capture this on video? Unfortunately, it was out of order when I came and filmed this route, so I had to go around the side of the building, which was a short walk, but as it's not the way that I'd usually recommend, I didn't want to get it in the video. When you exit this building on the other side, you'll appear pretty much in front of Canary Wharf tube station by Bank Street and Reuters Plaza. And so you're there. We've made it all the way from Island Gardens and the Greenwich Foot Tunnel up to Canary Wharf through the whole of the Isle of Dogs without having to deal with any traffic, especially on the horrible West Ferry Road. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. In my mind, this video probably isn't a whole journey that someone's going to do. You're unlikely to be starting at the tunnel, but it's more of a section of a longer journey that you might be able to incorporate into your trip or your commute. I've actually been looking for a serviceable route through the Isle of Dogs for years, and I finally got around to figuring this one out that meets my standards when it comes to traffic, etc. I was also a bit hesitant to do this video as I don't want to encourage people to illegally cycle through the tunnel, but a few viewers did get in touch to say they use the tunnel wheeling their bikes and still want a route up through to Canary Wharf, so I went ahead and made it. I will be doing more videos incorporating this section through the Isle of Dogs into longer journeys, particularly connecting to Cycleway 3 and onwards. So please do hit subscribe if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in seeing. I post new videos every week for those who are new to the channel, and thanks again to everyone on the Patreon who helps keep this channel going. If you want to support it too, then you can find a link to the Patreon in the description below the video where you can throw money at me. Please do leave a like on the video as it helps other people find it, and let me know in the comments what you think of all that. I'll see some of you below the line and the rest of you next time. Goodbye.